My name is Mayor Watt. I'm the mayor of ohmTown, and ohmTown is at ohmtown.com and here on Twitch at twitch.tv/ohmtown. Amazing how that works. So what is ohmTown? ohmTown is actually an aspiring community. I'll just call it that. I stream here at 11 o'clock on Twitch, but it gets turned into a podcast each day and a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ohmtown. And ohmtown.com is a news aggregator. Funnels about 200 news sources into 6 categories, and within those 6 categories, 50 channels. I've already selected a bunch of channels, a bunch of articles, pardon me. And I'm going to go over those articles. Sorry, I'm looking at a bunch of stuff because I'm trying to figure out. I'm doing this kind of in a hurry. Sorry. And all of this random babble that I'm doing goes into my podcast. So it's unfiltered, and my reactions are my authentic reactions because I don't read the articles prior to doing the show. I have some experience in business, technology, society, sociology. And so I leverage that when I give context to what I am reading. And I encourage you as listeners to the podcast or viewers to the stream to go over to the articles that I link. I'm going to have to go through this kind of quick today. Hopefully I will stick to the 1 hour time frame. And I just lagged out for a moment there. Let me check something. Yeah, I dropped a couple of frames. So at any rate, let me know in chat if there is something that you want to talk about in particular, or if there's an article that you want to focus on. Either way, I have about an hour to talk about the news, so let's get into it. The very first article is Brave is bypassing Google AMP pages because they're harmful to users. It says here Brave announced a new feature in its browser on Tuesday, DAMP, which automatically jumps past any page rendered with Google's Accelerated Mobile Pages framework and instead takes users straight to the original website. It's quite fascinating that AMP is ever even used, mainly because wherever I see an AMP link, there's always somebody else that has pulled the AMP link out and provided a link directly to the source material. So let's click this link. It'll take us over to The Verge, and it's an article written by David Pierce. Yet another nail in the AMP coffin. What's really funny about something that I've seen on my site is the slowest part of my site seems to be the negotiation between my advertising Google link and Google. So the moment that Google link pops up to do the ad, suddenly everything slows down. Maybe it's in the way that my code renders, whatever it may be. But obviously I can't pull the advertising out completely until it is being supported by subscribers, not in Twitch, but I would love to get rid of advertisements because I don't really like ads either. But like every site, it's typically ad supported, and when it's not ad supported, then it's subscription based, and I'd rather it be open to everybody, and those who subscribe get the ad removed. And that's part of and it's part of the process of developing a site. So I would love to get rid of ads. So over at The Verge, David Pierce writes more about this DAMP feature, and it says Brave framed DAMP as a privacy feature and didn't mince words about its stance towards Google's version of the web. Quote, in practice, AMP is harmful to users and to the web at large, Brave's blog post said before explaining that AMP gives Google even more knowledge of users' browser habits, confuses users, and can often be slower than the normal web pages. Didn't see that coming. Sorry, that I threw a little bit in there, and it's not really it's not really from Brave. And it warned that the next version of AMP, so far called AMP 2.0, will be even worse. And I'm a big proponent of privacy. I think that any site that takes away this privacy and doesn't afford me the ability to have any level of control over it as to how it's being acquired by the one that's acquiring it, um, does me as a consumer a disservice. Even if you are um, providing free services, there's a level that I think that I'm willing to divulge private information. And just to put this into perspective, I used to run a service similar to Google, but not Google, because mine was highly focused on blocking spam from ever being sent by spamming servers. And so I know pretty well about the whole process involved in providing a free service. And in a big business, there's always a greater and greater demand to extract profits. And the only way to do that really is to exploit ever and ever more levels of data, so that you can say that you've got more actionable information and you can sell it to other customers, business customers. That's primarily what Google does. It may provide information in its search results, but they are primarily there to drive intelligence gathering efforts so that they can sell ads. Every page you go to pretty much has Google AdWords in it, or tracking in some way, so that the site developer can track everything that a person is doing. That said, there is somebody that knows even more about your internet habits than Google, and that would be your ISP. Your ISP knows everything about you, unless you're using third-party DNS. And even then, there's deep packet inspection that might be able to track where you are going with unprotected websites. But in a nutshell, your ISP knows more about where you are going on the web than even Google. But there's a whole lot more there, but I'm going to keep going so that I can get through all of the articles today before noon. I have a meeting, a hard meeting at noon, so I've got to get out of here. The next article is in Mobile. Oh, I didn't put the link. Sorry, y'all. Let's throw that link in there. And the next link is Elon Musk races to secure financing for Twitter bid. There have been a few tweets about this. There's been a lot of discussion about this. And really it comes down to, will Tesla CEO take Twitter private? And will they be able to get the money necessary to do that? Well, Twitter has a poison pill. It'll dilute basically everybody's share. It becomes a problem because nobody really wants this. It's a tactical nuke on the infrastructure of the economics of Twitter. You can't sit there and just drop this out there without getting a whole lot of investors upset, because it's going to dilute their ownership, their shares. It's going to prevent somebody from acquiring more than 15%, let alone try and get an absolute control of Twitter. But there's all this discussion about the quality of the board, and that they don't really use Twitter, and that they're not really tech savvy or something like that. And it's rather astonishing. But suffice it to say, if Elon Musk takes over Twitter, one of his tweets was that the best, I'm gonna paraphrase because the exact quote I don't recall, but basically he believes that if the most right and most left 10% are upset about the acquisition of of Twitter and the policies and procedures in Twitter, then good. I have an issue with that because I think the further left you go, the more inclusive you are. And the further right you go, the more um, not inclusive, exclusive, siloed. I don't know how to describe it other than that, because my research has shown that as you move away from social constructions like big cities and population density decreases, you end up having right-leaning political aspirations, as opposed to left-leaning, which is more social, more inclusive, more open. And so you have this battle, and I hate the idea of a social website um, playing party to that, so to speak. And I think that policy and procedure should be to mandate being a human and not being vitriolic and basically just perpetual conflict. That kind of stuff just turns me off to a site entirely. So that's why there's many sites and subreddits and Twitter accounts and whatnot that I'm just not interested in going to, including Twitch sites, Twitch channels. I'm not interested in 15 people all screaming at each other about something that is marginally impactful in society. We as individuals are impactful on society when we all work together for a common cause. But people just arguing isn't necessarily going to change minds. It's just people arguing. So let's click this link. This is a New York Times article, and let's see this. Let me scroll down a little bit. The world's richest man is trying to shore up debt financing, including potentially taking out a loan against his shares of Tesla so he can buy Twitter for $43 billion. By the way, that loan will be at probably sub 1% interest. So the investment in Twitter alone will garner greater than that. And so he'll make a profit off of the acquisition of Twitter. But it'll take a little bit longer, obviously, depending on the return on the investment. This article is over at the NewYorkTimes.com site by Lauren Hirsch. But $43 billion is quite a bit for a person who, prior to SpaceX actually getting a NASA contract, would have gone bankrupt based on the historical record of articles that have been written about him and his history. So quite fascinating to go from people thinking that he was going to end up bankrupt to the richest person on the planet, all because NASA contract turned it around, and that just kind of went gangbusters, and that allowed for considerable changes to all of his business efforts. And there's a lot of history there that I've dug into, but we can talk about it at another date. So it says, Mr. Musk is evaluating various packages of debt, including more senior debt known as preferred debt and a loan against his shares of Tesla. And, if he over leverages himself, then so be it, right? That it's his money, etc. But what I want to avoid is the ability to utilize public money to acquire a private industry, and then there's little or no return to the public. So if you look at taxes that are paid, if you look at the benefit to the public, how much return on the investment is there really there for the amount of money that is being spent? And I'm talking about this NASA thing was over $1 billion, and it turned out doing quite well, but the risk was really great. And again, there's a lot of history there. So let's continue on. The next article is in Smack Talk. And it says Netflix blames account sharing for its first subscriber loss in a decade. It says a quarterly report delivered to investors on Tuesday revealed that the streaming service had lost 200,000 paid subscribers, citing COVID concerns and other factors. I'm not sure why COVID would matter. COVID would drive people to Netflix, not away from it. I'm curious what their rationale is for that. So let's click that link. And this article is over at Apple Insider, written by Daryl Boxberger. And it says here, and other factors, right? So Netflix disclosed in its Q1 2022 results in a shareholder update Tuesday morning, remarking that its platform growth is in revenue had slowed considerably. It's I'm going to round up, 7.9 billion in revenue, representing a mere 9.8% growth over the last quarter, marked the lowest quarter-over-quarter increase in the last year. So let's see. It says that and the COVID-19 pandemic for obscuring market trends. I'm not quite sure how that would matter, other than once COVID ends and people return to doing other things than watching Netflix. But that is not obscuring market trends. That's actually driving home the point of a pandemic event. So I'm not quite sure how, if you see massive increase when COVID kicks off and everybody becomes a shut-in for 2.5 years, obviously that's not masking anything. It's highlighting that your service is benefiting from everybody being home and not being able to go to movies, not being able to go to concerts, not being able to enjoy entertainment anywhere else but at home. The money for this effort should have been socked away and basically there for a rainy day. Not sure if that actually happened, though. I'd have to look at the financial reports. It says here, it is likely that other factors may also contribute to the subscriber loss for Netflix. To me, what's really contributing to this is competition. Everybody is spinning up applications, and through mergers and acquisitions, studios are combining, and additional shows are being spun over to those silos, and then they're not being shared, or they're licensed previously and they're just being integrated into an array of services, only because whoever owns the rights wants to offer it up to many places. But Apple is doing their silo, Paramount is doing their silo. I have to subscribe to multiple locations just to consume what I consume, because it's no longer on regular TV. You have to subscribe to various applications. I think that is the biggest thing. You have increased competition, yet now we're also witnessing increased rates. Like Prime has increased to $139. There is a separate bill for movies, but if you are a Prime member altogether, then you get movies as well. But everybody is charging around $15 a month to get movies now. So Netflix has a lot they need to offer to compete, or they're going to lower down in subscribers as everybody gets diluted. The next article is over on Warcrafters. If anything can bring back lapsed WoW players, it's probably dragons. This year it says, everyone likes dragons, and Dragonflight not only adds dragon riding, it also adds a playable dragon race, dragons riding dragons. There's no pretense of moderation here. After 18 years, though, I think Blizzard and WoW fans have earned a little dragon expansion as a treat. So I've purchased every single iteration of WoW, and I have to say that the last one, I despised every aspect of it. Basically, when I first started, and I was a beta tester for WoW, it was all story driven, and the end game stuff was just part of that progression, and you didn't have to really grind that hard to get to the end game material. But then over iteration, it turned into you have to grind a bunch of stuff as end game. So you would hurry up to get through the entire story just to gear up, and you'd have to grind a lot to gear up just to fight that boss at the end. And I never had time to sit there and do that grind. But I was interested in the story, so I would do all of the um, quests everywhere in WoW, only to stall at the grind because I hate the grind. I really despise things idling, and doing the same thing over and over again is a grind to me, is idle. So this article is over at PC Gamer. Tyler Wilde is the author, and it says here, with the popularity of Shadowlands waning, crowd-pleasing fire breathers might be just what World of Warcraft needs. And to me, I think World of Warcraft needs a return to the old school, doing a whole bunch of quests and building the story that way, and not just everybody hurrying to get to the end game so that they can get a world first, which really, I mean, to many people, that's meaningless, but the hardcore people are what's still paying for World of Warcraft. So that's where that monthly rate is coming from. The people that are diehard and grinding away. So that is the business mechanic that is successful for WoW staying alive. So go over to PC Gamer and you can learn more about this. The next article is in Law Nerd, which is all about the legal profession. I am not an attorney. Even more notably, I'm not your attorney, even if I was an attorney. But I'm interested in law. I'm actually in a pre-law program right now, just for my own edification. I don't plan on becoming an attorney. I'm not going to be taking the baby bar, but Kim Kardashian did. And the title of this is Kim Kardashian inadvertently reveals major, capitalized major, problem with the bar exam. So let's click this link. I've never read this. This is over in abovethelaw.com. And it's written by Catherine Rubino. Wow, there is a lot of fonts and a lot of bold intermixed. And this is quite the caption. So Kim Kardashian and diapers? No, it's not a fetish. It's the bar exam. Associates are still getting raises. Wow, what is all of this? This is amazing. This is almost too chaotic for me to go over. Yeah, they're not even going into anything. This is weird. I'm going to click this link to see if no, I don't think that's it either. Okay, I'm going to have to follow up on this one. This one's kind of weird. Okay, because it mentions Kim Kardashian and diapers, and I don't know what to do with that. The next article is over in the Aerith channel, which is about world building, storybook writing. Let's see here. Shin Megami Tensei 5 sells 1 million copies in new series high. So I'm going to click this link. I've never seen this, but I love animation. I love anime. I love manga. I love illustration. I love world building, story building. So let's go over to rpgfan.com. And if you've never heard of it, I'll introduce it to you. For comparison, Shin Megami Tensei 4 was last reported to have sold over 600,000 copies after 2 years on the market. But 5 has already sold 1 million units worldwide in just 5 months from launch. It's an impressive showing for the once fringe series, no doubt helped by favorable reception from fans and critics alike. So you can go and check out more about this. I haven't seen it. If this reminded you to pick up Shin Megami Tensei 5, make sure you check out our video guide to navigating its often tricky combat and demon negotiation systems. So they've got some videos and they've got some information to help you out if you are playing this. I've never played it, so I might have to go and check it out just so that I'm better informed about this. And that's a lot of what I do on a daily basis. This article's over at rpgfan.com, and it's written by Gio Castillo. Feel free to swing by there and check it out. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas channel. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis threatened action against Twitter's board over its poison pill to thwart a takeover. They know they can't control Elon Musk. So the reason why I chose this is because of the previous article about Elon Musk trying to gather up enough money to buy Twitter. And here it says that Ron DeSantis said that Florida could take action against Twitter's board for its poison pill. That poison pill is designed at 15% ownership to flood the market with shares, basically making it impossible for anybody to acquire a controlling share, an overall controlling share of Twitter. Again, investors hate that because it dilutes their ownership. It dilutes their profitability. It will lower ultimately the share price. While people will still gather it up, it may not drive that price back up. The problem that I have with this is not the poison pill or Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter. I mean, that's part of the suffering, the slings and arrows of business ownership. If you're a board and somebody comes along and does a hostile takeover, which is what happened similarly to Tesla. Tesla was started by two other people. Elon Musk got onto the board and then took it over, and that was it. That was the end game for the two initial creators of Tesla, and it was a dynamic change. I mean, the thing just went in a completely different direction as soon as Elon Musk got on board. To me, the moment that Elon Musk takes over Twitter and the vitriol and other kind of misinformed discussions and basically it's going to turn Twitter into a train wreck. If history, actually continues with Twitter, I think that everybody should just bail from Twitter and go in different directions. More competitors, I hate to say balkanize it, but you can't really have all of that communication siloed in one place, and then you have to filter through the garbage to try and get to actionable information. To me, it's very difficult to find things that I am interested in Twitter. And this happens a lot with social media. You have to kind of sift through the chaff to get to the wheat. But my problem with this article is that the statement, they know they can't control Elon Musk. You can't control Elon Musk because he's a billionaire, not because he's a rational human being, compassionate and understanding. He's a billionaire. He can literally pay whatever price anybody wants just so that he can get his way. If the board says we don't want you on the board, his billions makes their opinion moot. And for whatever reason, people hero worship this. As if they will ever be a billionaire. And that's just not true. And there's an article about, self-made billionaires and whatnot, but that belies the context of how a person becomes a billionaire. They start out millionaires. They don't make themselves a billionaire. They already have no other care in the world or no other concern in the world except, oh my gosh, I now have extra millions to spend somewhere. So this Ron DeSantis is basically saying money makes right, and that's not true. Not as a society, it's not true. So this article is over at businessinsider.com, and it's written by Katie Canales, or Canals. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. Maybe somebody will know. That's Ron DeSantis, by the way. So it says here, the poison pill, otherwise known as a shareholder rights plan, would dilute the value of each share in a company by allowing existing shareholders to buy more stock at a sizable discount. That would still dilute the holdings of Elon Musk, who became Twitter's largest shareholder earlier this month with a 9.2% stake. By the way, he violated policy, regulation that he was supposed to disclose to the public when he owned 5%. But when you're the richest person in the world, you can get away with pretty much anything. I'm pretty sure that he can do whatever he wants as long as he throws enough money at it. I'm going to continue on. We're halfway through, and I'm about halfway through with the articles. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and it says the technology, devices, and benefits of remote patient monitoring in the healthcare industry. This is actually a Business Insider intelligence report, so you have to subscribe to Business Insider, but I thought it was interesting. One of the tools U.S. health systems and hospitals are turning to for improved outcomes and reduced costs is remote patient monitoring. RPM refers to the specific technology used to electronically transmit information between patients and physicians, and it is just one delivery system within the broader telehealth industry. And there's really not much more to this in terms of what I can talk about, because it is kind of siloed within this insider intelligence system. So they'll go over some of the information. I love this kind of stuff, and common examples of remote health monitoring devices include continuous glucose monitors that remind diabetes patients to take their insulin. I used to actually wear one because I wanted to track my glucose level in real time. And if you do a search, you can actually get a free glucose monitoring device. It's not as high tech as this here, which is a blood pressure monitor, but it will track your blood sugar in real time, and it's pretty neat. And so basically you either slap on a wrist cuff or attach one of these blood glucose monitors or other things. Even insulin pumps are remote now. Pacemakers and other things, medical devices are integrated. In fact, I actually talk with people about the fact that historically there have been pacemakers that you could, from a distance, modify their software because the security was weak at best, negligent, some would say. And there have been recalls, which is really interesting, recalls on pacemakers. Somewhere around 400,000 pacemakers at one point, and then another instance of hundreds of thousands of pacemakers recalled because their software could be exploited outside the body, and maybe somebody could be harmed. I don't know of any reports that actually took place, but security researchers do some really interesting things to prove their point. And so that's what this article is about, is remote monitoring of patients. And I think this is just amazing, because the more information you have about your situation, being situationally aware is almost as important, or is as important as context when it comes to having discussions. And if you don't know what you're having to deal with as a physician or a patient, then you are already kind of losing the game, so to speak. There was a time, there's some things that you can end up in the emergency department, and based on the symptoms, they'll treat you a certain way. And that isn't necessarily the truth of the matter, except that you as a patient cannot really do much to dissuade those particular actions because the liability is there. So if you don't think that you're being treated the proper way and you want to check yourself out of an emergency department here in the States, they'll have somebody come down from the administrative offices to remind you of the liability of you checking yourself out. And that acknowledgement by you allows you to check yourself out, and the hospital isn't liable for you leaving. But if you have all of this telemetry here, then you could actually leave and still be tracked by your physician. So I think remote monitoring of real-time health is absolutely important and the future. So let's keep going. The next article is fake reviews to be illegal under new rules. The government has also announced that it'll be able to opt out of subscriptions more easily. Yeah, kind of like the phone calls about your car warranty. I doubt anything will happen. Depending on the administration, it becomes weaker or stronger depending on that. But in the EU, there's a whole lot more privacy being provided to consumers, primarily with right to be forgotten policies. This here says fake reviews to be illegal under new rules. This is aggregated from bbc.com. Let me see if I can find who the author is. It doesn't really say here. But it says proposals include making it clearly illegal to pay someone to write or host fake reviews. A competition watchdog will get new powers to fine firms up to 10% of their global turnover for bad business practices. But the industry group said the new rule shouldn't put any further unnecessary burdens on businesses. If the 10% is still lower than the profits gleaned, then it's not really punitive and it won't stop anything. It's the same thing that happens here in the States. There's a fine, but it's only 1% of the total profits that are generated off of the fraud, whatever, or the illegal action, or whatever it is. And so they do it. Why? Because they're still profiting off of their either abuse or mismanagement or outright fraud. So that, coupled with making it very easy to unsubscribe from something, is going to be amazing. I wish that the US had more ability to influence this type of action, because if I stop using Facebook, then I should be able to never have any interaction with Facebook if I so choose. Now, obviously, the service can reactivate my account if I want to reactivate my account, but that's not how it goes. Every website that I go to has Google tracking code and Facebook code and LinkedIn code and Twitter code and everybody's code. And there's actually add-ons to browsers that will show you just how much tracking code is done. Maybe I can do that as an example in one of the shows. But not today. We're going to continue on. The next article is in the continuity report. And this is Thor: Love and Thunder becomes 4th most viewed trailer in 24 hours. And this was taken late yesterday. And it's part of the 24 hours between episodes. And it says here, the God of Thunder has achieved a godlike number of viewers. On Tuesday, Marvel Studios announced that the official teaser for Thor: Love and Thunder had reached 209 million views in the first 24 hours. The number makes the teaser the 4th most. That was interesting pronunciation there. 4th most viewed trailer in 24 hours, behind the trailers of 3 other Marvel films. Wow. Some tough competition. By the way, this probably has already increased, so there might be an edit here. This article is over at Variety.com and written by Wilson Chapman. And let's see if they updated it. So Love and Thunder is going to be in the theaters July 8th, but you can go and check out the official trailer on YouTube. Just do a search for Marvel Studios Thor: Love and Thunder, or just Love and Thunder. I'm sure it'll pull it up. And it'll be a fun watch, I'm sure. Let's see if there's anything else in this article. I think it'll move up because people are just hungry for more Marvel films that are involving Avengers heroes. Let's see. It's reached 209 million views. That's pretty amazing. But I'm going to continue on. Let's keep going. The next article is in Law Nerd, and it says, who needs to roll back prices when you can roll back employees? The writing for Above the Law is pretty spectacular. It says there's a joke about a toxic work environment and hazard pay here. Let me click the source. And it says here, I've gotten word from friends that went into the employment law side of biz that their fact patterns are the most interesting. Now I can finally see why. There's no surprise that Amazon is in a tiffy about rehiring him. Bryson's been described as outspoken critic of the company's workplace safety policies. On Monday, Administrative Law Judge Benjamin Green said Amazon must offer Gerald Bryson his job back as well as lost wages and benefits resulting from his discriminatory discharge. Amazon spokesperson Kelly Nantel said in a statement that the company will appeal the ruling. So, who needs to roll back prices when you can roll back employees? This article is over at abovethelaw.com and written by Chris Williams. There's some more here, but essentially a terminated employee of Amazon won a lawsuit to get rehired by Amazon because of their discriminatory actions. And what I find interesting is I would never want to return. If I was discriminated against, I would never want to return until the people that facilitated that were either fired themselves for abuse of their position or criminally charged for discrimination. I mean, it is absurd that simply stating something that is demonstrably true can lead to your termination. It's the reason why I have problems with going after whistleblowers. Abuse happens in the dark, and it's so tiring to hear that whistleblowers are being charged with something. And to me, it doesn't really matter what it is. If abuse is taking place, then it needs to be exposed to the public when all other options, if you bring it to the next level and they dismiss you, if you take it to the next level after that and they marginalize you and they don't take any action, then you go to the next one. And at some point you have to bring it to the public. And so I wholeheartedly agree with whistleblowers that can be proven to be speaking the truth about something. And I'll continue on with the next article. The word in tech is where it landed. The Pokemon company is acquiring the company that prints the trading card game. So the Pokemon company has acquired Millennium Print Group, a company that prints cards for the hugely popular Pokemon trading card game. Millennium Print Group has been working with the Pokemon company since 2015. With this acquisition, the Pokemon Company International aims to further develop Millennium Print Group's capabilities, infrastructure, and scale to become a premier printer of trading cards serving the broader industry. I've always found this interesting because they're basically integrating their vertical. So now they own the company that prints their cards. They no longer have to pay a premium. They can just do it at cost, and they can provide the printing services to other trading card companies, wherein they will benefit from charging those other companies the premium that would normally have been siloed within the Millennium Print Group. I bore witness to that when a casino, I was working with a company next to what ultimately became a printing company for a casino. So that what happened was the casino was given a grant, and they spun up a printing company so that they could print the material for the casino and provide services to other companies, except that what was going on was the printing company didn't charge the casino except the basic rate, the cost rate. And that was the entire purpose of this. The discussion that I had with the CEO of the printing company said straight out that they were given the grant so that they could spin it up to facilitate printing for the casino. It was quite intriguing. So it saves them quite a bit of money. All of the costs associated with the juice beyond the cost of printing now doesn't have to be given to some other company. This article is over at theverge.com and written by Jay Peters. So it's an interesting article. And I basically just told you the summary of it, but there's greater fidelity if you go over to the article and read it more about the Millennium Group and the Pokemon relationship. So definitely go over there and read it. The next article is in Wanted. Powered chopsticks use electricity to make food taste 50% saltier. According to the FDA, the average American eats 3,400 milligrams of sodium a day. And this Japanese food, beverage, and pharmaceuticals company, that's an interesting combination, Kirin, recently announced that it and a team of researchers have developed a chopstick device that uses electrical stimulation to make food taste up to 50% saltier than it would otherwise. I guess it buzzes your tongue. And this article is over at arstechnica.com, written by Sharon Harding. Let's see here. Oh, wow. You have to wear a wrist strap with a battery pack, USB battery pack that charges one of the chopsticks. And to me, it seems like it's going to kind of give you a low charge zap to your tongue. The chopstick device made by researchers from the Meiji, I guess it's pronounced, University, Dr. Homai Miyashita, a laboratory of the Department of Frontier Media Science, School of Interdisciplinary Mathematical Sciences, in cooperation with Kirin, uses what the team calls electric taste sensation, which uses electricity so weak that it won't affect the human body. This is an April 11th announcement. So it's going to go into greater detail, but basically it's going to zap you a little bit, and that's going to stimulate your tongue to believe that there's greater saltiness. It's one of the sensory, elements of your tongue. There's sweet and salt. But let's continue. I'm brushing up against my time frame, so I'm going to have to get out of here. Hopefully this doesn't always exist, this pressure to get done by noon for another meeting. In the next article, the word in tech is the channel it landed in. BMW's new electric 7 Series luxury sedan will start at $120,295. That $295 makes a big difference. BMW announced its new electric 7 Series luxury sedan, the i7 xDrive 60, rolls off the tongue. The upcoming EV will have an estimated range of up to 300 miles and a starting price of just shy of $121,000. Interested car buyers can pre-order the i7 starting today. So just in case you're not missing much, if you hear this today, you'll be able to get in line quick, and are expected to start later this year. So the deliveries are already going to be out this year. And it's chock-a-block with features like an 8K. Is that what I just read? This article's over at The Verge and written by Andrew J. Hawkins. Let me see here. It says, featuring 2 electric motors with a combined output of 536 horsepower and 549 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Let's see here. The vehicle's battery is 101.7 kilowatt hours of usable energy, but the combined power consumption will be 19.7 to 18.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is lower than previously advertised. And by way of comparison, the Tesla's long range has a 100 kilowatt hour, and the Mercedes-Benz flagship has 350 miles of range and 107.8 kilowatt hours of capacity. That is a hell of a sedan, by the way. Anyway, let's continue. Is there anything else in here? Yeah. So it goes into greater detail, as with all articles that I kind of try and encourage you to go over and read. I give you a brief rundown, so go check it out. And then come back tomorrow at 11 and talk to me about it. That's not the end of the show, but this is inflation complicates return to office plans. The cost of a daily routine, travel, coffee, food is far pricier than it was when offices shut down 2 years ago. Let's click the link. It'll take us from the mobile.com channel at ohmTown over to New York Times. That's where the article was aggregated from. And it's written by Emma Goldberg. In recent months came a new set of worries about RTO, return to office. The rising cost of gas and food, especially near the firm's headquarters in Clearwater, Florida, one of the areas of the United States hardest hit by inflation. This is the security software company KnowB4 weighed whether to require a return to office. Executives knew to anticipate set of concerns from employees, less flexibility, more time in transit, gas is increasing, etc., etc. I am a proponent of remote work because that travel time, primarily the travel time, you don't get paid to travel. You get paid for your time in the seat, so to speak. So if I have to travel 2 hours to get to my job or an hour to get to my job, it's actually costing me money. It's lowering my hourly rate because I'm literally doing the job, but I'm not able to do it when I'm traveling. So it's basically a burden on the employee. And if your job can be done via a computer like this one, then I should be able to do it from wherever I am. And I'm just as effective. The only thing that I'm losing, and it's really me that's losing. Sorry for the hiccup there. I'm losing the social connection with my other compatriots in the job place. So it's purely social. I am just as effective via a Zoom call and I'm even better effective at my job because I don't have people walking into my office on the regular, distracting me from my work. Whereas I can pick and choose and triage via email and Zoom and other meeting methods. And I can set up more meetings in a day because I no longer have to travel from one place to another, even within the enterprise. It's slow. You have to walk. Whereas I can sit here for 10 hours a day and get 9 hours worth of work done versus me having to travel for an hour and then blah, blah, blah. And then I have to come back and it just doesn't make economic sense. Or work-life balance sense. So I think that everybody should promote working from home. Plus, it lowers the carbon footprint of the business. It lowers the economic requirement for the business. They no longer have to lease 10,000 square feet of office space. That's nothing more than a warehouse. It could be better utilized for somebody else. And that's all there is to it. So that is the ohmTown Daily News Show in a nutshell. And like all shows, I bring it back to the very front page and click refresh, and a new page shows up with all of the latest articles, unless I broke something prior to the show. And this news is basically all being pulled from one site, which focuses on discussions from makers. I'm a big proponent of the maker space, and I'd like to promote the small crafter. And so go over to ohmtown.com and check out all of these shows. There's 50 of them. Only one show is streaming right now on Twitch, and that is the ohmTown Daily News Show, which is a composite of all of the channels that I hope to bring. And those would be once a week shows, but the ohmTown Daily News Show is every day at 11 o'clock. So thank you very much for coming. I will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Bye-bye.